Penguins. Ninja Penguin here. Welcome to the second video installment of Penguin's Corner. My co-host today will be Zero, my Wonder Mutt. Say hello, Zero. Oh, sure. Now he's going to be shy. Barks all the time, but never on cue. Okay. On today's show of Penguin's Corner, I had mentioned a few things about my base and mentioned about maybe making a video. So here's the video. Hopefully I've got all my technical issues resolved. I'm not the best with computers, so hopefully this all works. But okay, here's my base, or I like to call it Penguintopia. Penguintopia's defenses have just been totally redesigned. I've rethought the entire aspect of my base defense. Basically what I did was I took everything everybody's ever told me about base defense, a good base defense in Battle Pirates, and I watered it up in a little ball and I threw it out the window. I said, look, I didn't quite like how it's supposed to work. I like thinking outside the box. I like coming up with my own idea. I think so far outside the box, I don't know where the box is anymore. You can ask Howdy. He'll attest to that. I'm one really strange thinker. But anyways, here's my base. I thought I'd go over a bunch of different stuff real quick. Hopefully real quick. Tips on base defense, what my new strategy is that's working so well. I posted a couple of my battle reports, and most people are losing their fleet and they're doing, 1% damage to my base, which basically means they're taking out all these outside buildings. This mainly stays intact. I did have a guy last night who actually did do some damage to these turrets, and maybe I'll show you that at the end after I explain everything that I've done to my base. But let's just do a quick little run over. What I've done is I have gone away from thinking of my base as a port to be defended, and more of a fortification meant to destroy you as soon as possible. So I've gone from a very defensive-minded strategy to an extremely offensive-minded strategy. I went from one side of the spectrum all the way over to the other. So let's just jump right in. First thing is, you probably noticed that's different from this base than just about any other base design you're going to see in Battle Pirates, is I don't have any turrets along my canal. You don't hit any turrets till you hit out just before you get to my outpost. I mean, you can probably reach my outpost depending on the weapons if you cram into this corner. But basically, from there to there, and my outpost is exposed. You don't have to travel that far. So I got all my turrets in the very back. I'm using my canal here as basically a tenderizing area. I'm just going to pound them, try to weaken them. And usually by the time they round this first corner, they're hurt pretty bad. Once they come around into the range of this wall of scatterguns, they disintegrate. It just takes out what they have left. So, with that being said, here, I can show you one basic. I have a hard time explaining stuff on the page. I'm not real good with words. You're probably going to see that in this video. I explain a lot better if I can use my hands, which you can't do on the page, or draw pictures, which you can't really do on the page. I try to show pictures, but I always feel like I'm not quite getting my point across. One of the things that I've tried to explain to people is covering your canal. You want to cover your canal and just pound on it, pound on their ships when they're coming down the canal. All right. If you look at this mortar, yes, it covers the entire canal, but you don't need to go all the way to the other side of the canal to actually say you're covering the canal. Like, Here, this is a perfect example. This covers the canal. It's not covering the whole canal. As long as you go, the canal is 2 water squares wide. The attacking fleet will travel right down that center line. So you just have to get just barely over 50% of your canal, and you're covering the canal. So this is actually covering the canal from right there on. They might pop out just for a second right here, but basically they're driving through a whole lot of red. I actually make them leave the my weapons range, drive around, and then come back in. Hopefully I get a reload here. You know, all the weapons can reload, and when they come back in, it's full on, everything fires again. I am not sure. Nobody's gotten this far yet, so that hasn't been tested. But yeah, just all you need to do is cover over half. Like this one, let's say the countermeasure, the green ring, is actually its weapons range. This wouldn't be a real good setup because you're only covering it from there to about there somewhere. So you're only you're only going to get to fire at the ships for like an inch or so. That's not good. We can do a lot better than that. I'd move this turret if it wasn't a defensive turret. You want something more like this, where they're staying in the red for a long time. Okay. With that, let's go into the base planner and give you a big overview of a couple of my base defense strategy, my new wacky idea, so to speak. Okay, here's another thing. A lot of people, I don't think I'm explaining it too well verbally, so I can actually show you with pictures. I can talk good with pictures. Okay, if you want to keep your island and everything in the middle unsnipeable. All right, to be unsnipeable, you want your outer ring, so you have 1 land square. Then you want 4 water squares before you put anything, whether it be on land or ocean. You want these 4 squares. The only weapon that will travel or reach in and actually hit that is probably the Gatling gun, because it has a range of 104. But even then, they have to drive their ship up on the shore. It gets stuck, it slows down, and if that happens, the mortars are going to rain down. They're going to take a lot of damage, so people usually won't bother with it. All right? If you look up here, I actually have 5 water squares between the land and the in my center island. If you look, I do have 4 empty water squares before I have this building. That's why there's actually 5 here, because I need the 4 here. This is not snipeable now from out here. It is snipeable in the channel, but they're not thinking about sniping my dock because they're worried about all this crap firing at them. They're looking down the canal towards what they're facing, what they got to target, and that kind of thing. They really don't worry about it. The Gatling gun could probably target it really easily, but I put these walls in here. Gatling gun has a hard time, the long range has a hard time chewing through walls, so again, slows them down. They're not going to waste the time and everything firing at them. And you want to keep these 4 squares empty. Don't put a boat here. Don't put like your if you have say you put a Mastodon or Proto-Mastodon or something with remote targeting back here in the back of your base, thinking, okay, it's just going to pound off other ship when it targets. You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot when you do something like this, because let's say another guy comes into your base, an attacker, comes flying up with his ship to here. This is extremely easy to hit. So let's say he's got missiles. He's got missile fleet. Missile fleet will kill this boat really quick. And then all the extra missiles are going to carry it and wreak havoc. Taking out turrets, warehouses, not good. If it's a mortar fleet, mortars can reach this really easily. The splash, again, is going to wreak havoc on your the island of your base where all my power is, or hopefully where your big guns are. If it's a UAV fleet, very easily reached, and if it's the bomber UAVs, yeah, this island disappears. I mean, it'll actually absolutely disintegrate it if he's got all his boosts and all that kind of thing up. It just, yeah, don't do this. This is a no-no. On my guard fleet, I used to have a enforcer right here that would just barely cover the halfway mark. I mean, the circle would basically just go over that line. And it did a lot of damage. The only problem is that whole same thing. People would come in, sacrifice a ship, and just run into the ground. They would take that out with missiles, remote targeting. Then the retargeting would carry them into the base. Remote targeting with splashes would the splash effect would just chew up all this stuff. There's a level 3 turret. I got some level 3s, level 4s. All those turrets would just disappear just with splash. They're level 3. Wind will knock the damn things over. Same thing, UAV fleet would hit it, and it would just absolutely devastate all the turrets in here. So I actually took that ship out. It did a lot of damage, but I didn't like them doing all that damage in there. So my new strategy was trying to protect this as much as possible. And it's working out pretty well. Okay, let's take a look at the overall power things. Let me turn on the tactical ranges. Oh my god, it just got confusing. Don't worry, we're going to work through it. It'll be real easy. We'll pull stuff out of the way, simplify it as we go. We'll start with these big rings. This is my Naval Lab, Intelligence Lab, Weapons Lab, and Advanced Lab. They all have that EMP blast. Since they're on the actual labs, they do a stun effect. It's like a little mini pulse. It's like 8 seconds. Depending on what they have for stun resistance, that's going to whittle down from that 8 seconds. Sometimes they just stop for like just a second. But the fact is, they're still stopping. So EMPs, the EMP blast can be very effective, but you got to use them in the right way. You got to put them in the right place. And here's an example of what I'm saying. Okay, let's say a guy comes in and he has revenges or vendettas, and he's got that bloodthirst he wants to power up. If he comes around this way to power up his bloodthirst just to hit buildings, these 3 EMPs aren't going to do dick. That's not why they're actually there. Because he can hit them from out here. His ships will get stunned for a second, but nothing's really hitting the ship. So it's not really going to do anything for him. But if he comes down through the canal without taking these 3 out, they will be extremely effective. Oh, one thing on the bloodthirst. A lot of ships are coming out with this bloodthirst crap. Let me zoom in. If you noticed, let me get rid of the rings for a second. Rings off, tactical rings off, so you can see better. The only collectors I have in my base are well defended. They're way in the back. You can't reach them from the outside. And I'm using them to power up other stuff. I highly suggest, if you're having problems with revenges or that kind of thing that are using that bloodthirst to get their defenses up so high hardly anything can kill them, get rid of all the collectors that you're not going to use to power things up with. I got just a few. I got 3 wind turbines and I got 2 oil rigs. That's it. I got rid of all my collectors, and my base got a lot harder just by doing that, because they can't get that huge deflection boost and defensive boosts and all that stuff from the bloodthirst. they have to actually come in here and kill a couple turrets before they can get to that 20 mark. They got to kill 20 buildings. We'll only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I think there's one more down here. 9. There's only 9 buildings they can hit to try to power up their bloodthirst. So they're not even halfway on their bloodthirst. And then they have to come in here. 10 on the way in. They got to take out a couple of turrets. Meanwhile, their defenses are not boosted up, and I'm killing them. So they're not getting the bloodthirst at all. Okay, just side note right there. Give it some thought. I hated doing it, man. I debated about it for months. I finally just got rid of all the collectors that I wasn't using for, tactical reasons. Like I'm using these. I've got fire support 1 on them. Anything I wasn't using, trashed them. Threw them away. I hated throwing away all that work, but then with the bloodthirst, you almost have to do it. I think KixEye really screwed up with that bloodthirst crap. But anyways, so here's this guy coming into my base. He's not going to go around the outside and blow up my stuff. He's going to just charge down. He's bold. He's brazen. He's going to attack the Ninja Penguin full force. So he comes down here. What happens? First thing his ships are going to target is going to be my Intel lab with an EMP blast. Alright, if he has a Gatling gun, he can actually outrange the EMP blast that has a range of 102. That's what these green circles are. 102. The Gatling gun range for the long range part of the Gatling gun is 104, so he can outrange it. The problem with that long range Gatling gun is it doesn't do very good on walls. So I got walls in the way. That's why these walls are here. They kind of look like they're haphazardly just throwing out there little segments of walls, but I actually got them placed so line of fire coming down the canal, all my buildings are protected by a couple walls. So the Gatling gun has to chew through the walls before they can actually hit the building with the EMP blast. If they're trying to snipe it out and stay outside the range, they have to stop. Well, if they stop, I'm still getting them to do what I want them to do, which is stop. It's a win-win, so it's all good. So, guy comes down my canal, attacking me. Let's say he's got to chew through these things, which he probably won't do, so he'll keep driving. If it's anything else but the Gatling gun, they're not going to outrange the 104. They have to get in range of the EMP blast to hit it, to target it, to even shoot at it. Unless they have remotes, you still got one ship in here. Something's getting in range to get hit by that EMP blast. So they finally get in range, they hit it, they blow it up, they stop. That gives me a second or two. If I'm lucky and they don't have anything for stun resistance, 8 seconds, and they'll just get destroyed. But usually they just stop for a second, maybe 2. But it gives the time for the mortars and all that to hit. The splash will hit them. You don't actually have to hit the boat, the apocalypse mortars, or horseshoes. You just got to get close. Get it close, you're doing damage, which is all good. So they come in, they blow up this building, they stun. They get unstunned. The next volley they will shoot would probably take out this EMP blast, which stops them again, giving my mortars more time to catch up. The closer you can get to them, the more damage you can do. But hey, splash damage will work. Every little bit helps. Pound, pound, pound. Okay, I got the third one set way back. And the reason is let's say, they come in, pow. The second one comes in, pow. If I try to do like a triple shot and have it, let me get these out of the way. Like if I set it up like this, trying to do a triple shot, this really won't work. I got one more right there. This really won't work because if they're using mortars, the splash will take it out. They won't have to get in you see they're out of range of the blast. If it's missiles, the retargeting will take it out. It's not going to be, it won't do anything to their ships. So I moved it way down here. And 2 squares. If you have 2 squares between your buildings, that's a pretty good separation to stop retargeting, to get out of blast splash range. Things won't chain. 2.5 squares is even better. I think 2 is basically the bare minimum you want to have is 2 squares. This might actually be right at 2 squares going diagonally. I might have to look at that later. I don't know. But anyways, you want to have about 2 squares. Okay, so this EMP, get these out of the way. The last EMP that I have actually works in tandem with all my scatter guns here. This wall of scatter guns. Let me go ahead and move this out of the way so you can see better. Big old beast parking up on land. Anyways, okay, so my scatter guns. Real quick, let me take some of these squares. And what I'm doing here is I'm marking the center of the canal. When I'm doing the big layout, I'll go ahead and do a dotted line for the center of the canal. And this is, okay, this is basically looking at where the ships are going to be traveling. This is the track they're going to take. So right here, they're going to hit the in range of the EMP blast. I do that because when I turn on the turret ranges, everything turns red. You can't see where the land is really. It's too hard to see. But this will actually let you see where the ships are traveling. If you click on these turrets, I hate the way these turrets are done now in the, these ranges are done now in the base planner. But if you click on them, you'll notice the white line, the range line, gets a lot easier to see because you're bringing that transparency up to the top. So now you can see all the ranges of my scatter guns. And as you can see, by the time they get in range of the when they're coming down here, 99.9% of the time, they are firing at this thing first. So when this thing goes off, boom, and they're stunned, they are well within my scattergun range, which I think is 105, 104. I can't remember. We'll look at later. So they're in range. Since the range is so long in these, I usually get the first shot. Bam! They take a crap load of damage. This wall of 6 scatter guns is over 100k in damage per shot. Well, they're set up where they pretty much all shoot at the exact same time. So that's 100k. Bam! They come a little farther in. They automatically fire at this weapon first. They get stunned. Hopefully I get a second blast from these things. Bam, there's another 100k. 200k of damage is going to take care of just about any tank. It's corrosive damage. There's no defense against it. If they don't have their bloodthirst built up where they're running their deflection way through the roof, yeah, very effective. This is extremely powerful. EMP blasts are extremely powerful if you can put them in the right spot, use them the right way like this. The one lab that's way in here is always effective because they can't snipe it. They can't reach it from the outside. The only place they can hit it is by coming down my canal here. So this one's always effective. These three, it's kind of a crapshoot. They come around the outside, totally worthless. They come down the canal, very effective. So, you know, it's either this or that. All right, let's get the EMP blast circles out of the way. Now, excuse me, had to get a drink. Next thing I want to look. All right, I have 20 turrets in my base. If you notice here, every single turret, all 20 turrets of mine, are powered up one way or another by another building. So not only are you putting a bunch of stuff on your turrets to power them up, but you're taking external sources to power them up even more. You're compounding all this on. You're stacking it. This is what's making my base so deadly, I think. Okay. My 2 oil rigs. I'm using Combined Defense 2 and Radiation Suppressor to give me defenses. The reason these are actually still defensive, like I said, I was going to an all offensive minded strategy. There's nothing I can put on my oil rigs other than defensive stuff to help out these the Basilisk, Basilisk and scattergun turrets. So it has to be defensive. All right, and the combined defense, it's a blanket defense. It does the big three: ballistic, penetrating, and explosive. This one does radiation. So I got a good, pretty much covered. Doesn't do a whole lot, but when we go back out there, you'll see it actually benefits greatly. All right, so that's the 2 oil rigs. I'll move those out of the way. All right, now we're getting into the heart of Penguintopia. If you look, every one of these orange circles will boost damage, making the punches harder. They'll stack. I got them overlapped and zigzagged. They all give a little bit of a boost. Let me take these out of the way just for a second to help illustrate. For my warehouses and my outpost, the fire support 2 gets an extra bonus of reload. So all of these are not only doing more damage, but they're firing faster. This is again what people in the community tell you not to do. They tell you to put your warehouses out here so they get blown up right away and you get into a bubble faster. I'm not thinking defensive anymore. I'm saying fuck the bubble. I'm going to make it where it's going to cost you a ton of fleets just to bubble me. You've seen some of the battle reports I've posted. I'm getting 1% damage to my base and killing their fleet. So, 25 fleets later, I'll be bubbled. See the logic I'm trying to take? Okay. So I'll bring these things back. A note on when you're setting up your base. Okay, you can see I got just massive amounts of overlapping. It's almost impossible to see what is actually hitting a turret. I was going cross-eyed and getting headaches trying to figure it out. Eventually, I just said, screw this. Set everything you want up in your base. Come down here, hit the apply button. Go out to your base. You actually have to do one more step. You can't just go out to your base and look at the new numbers for your turret. You actually have to go out to the map and then come back into your base, and the new numbers will be in place. It's like when you're coming from map to the new numbers don't get posted for your turrets. Any changes you do won't show up yet. You have to go to the map and then come back in. You can't just go from base planner to base and then come back into base planner, and check that way. It drove me nuts for a long time till I actually figured that was what it was doing. Because I would change things and then the numbers wouldn't really change. I'm like, okay, that really didn't do anything. I'd change things back, and I'd finally get the base the way I think I'd want it. I'd go out and do something. I'd come back in and all my numbers would change. I'm like, okay. Finally figured it out. All right, the last field we went over the fire support. I got fire support 1 on my dock, fire support on my wind turbines, fire support 1. 2s are on my warehouses and my outpost. My dock is in the back. It has room for a thing. I've even got my dock powering up 4 turrets. Every little bit helps. Pile it on, stack it up. I'm looking for the biggest punch with every shot I can possibly do. I'm trying to maximize that. All right. This little green ring is the overload reload mechanism field. So every turret that this green ring touches gives it that reload bonus every minute at 200% salvo. Doesn't sound all that powerful. It only goes off once every minute. It has a 1-minute cooldown period. The battle's only 5 minutes long. Doesn't sound like that big deal on paper. In actuality, it's huge. All right, think about it this way. All right, off the corner of these buildings, off the corner of the outpost, the ring won't hit diagonally, any turret diagonal. It'll hit the ones along the sides. If you scooch over one wall space, one square in your base, just scooch that over. See how that green line just barely touches the corner of this Wendigo turret? That counts. This gets the boost of the overload reload mechanism. I'll show it to you when we go out to the base. It just has to touch it. So if you think about it, let me pull these out real quick. If you think about it, I'll move this out of the way. If you just move these up a little bit, it only has to come up one square. All right, if you have your base, if you do this kind of setup, you're actually hitting 10 turrets with the overload mechanism, reload mechanism. 10, that's half your turrets. Half the turrets in your base can get a free shot because when that 1 minute goes off on the reload mechanism, whether it's ready, it's time for it to fire or not, it automatically fires, and it fires 200% salvo. So that's huge. That is real huge. On paper, it doesn't look like it'd be all that effective, but if you use it like this, man, yeah, pow. You talk about overloading people's stuff. All right, put my stuff back where it was. So I can show you. I am only hitting, 8. I'm only hitting 8. You can't actually hit 10 if you totally surround your base, which would not be a bad idea. I put my warehouse, closed it in here because I wanted the reload to hit these 2 turrets. If I move it down one more square, it won't reach these last 2 turrets. And I want all 4 of these they're super long range. I want them to fire as fast and as often as possible. They do a hell of a punch. We'll look at that when we go out into the main base again. I'll dissect some turrets. But yeah, I wanted the reload, so that's why I'm not using this square to power up even another turret. I'm thinking about moving this one out and shifting these over, but I just don't know where to put this thing yet. I really don't have room where it's not going to be snipeable. So, food for thought. Neat little trick where you can get an extra 2 turrets in there. You can get 10 turrets. Half your turrets get that boost. That's awesome. All right, let's go back out to the base. Discard. Don't want to screw up my Penguin-topia with the change like that. I got everything all screwed up. Okay. So here we are at my base. Let's take a look at some turrets. Defense Platform 7. All right, this is my front line. This is the wall of 6 scatter guns. I have a level 4 and a level 5 turret in this wall still. They'll go to level 7. They'll be set up just like this. I have my Draconian scatter guns set up the same way. The only difference between the Draconian scatter guns and the Basilisk turret is the damage they do. Everything else is the same. Range is the same. Spread's the same. Splash the same. Reload's the same. Everything's the same except for the damage. The Draconian scatter guns have a little bit more punch. That's the only difference. All right, going down I have my armament: 1 ballistic, 1 explosive, 1 defensive. 1 penetrating. Kind of a blanket effect. Same thing with one of my specials on here. Explosive, ballistic, explosive, and penetrating defense. Again, blanket defenses. And talking about that, see, I get them up to 59. These numbers right here are actually the bonuses I'm getting from my 2 oil rigs. These numbers are not figured into this. You got to add these onto that. So think about it. It's going up to, diminishing returns. You're going to be talking about once you get rid of the. This is actually all right. The defenses on these transformers is figured into your defensive numbers. They're tallied in. These numbers are not. The offensive, for some reason, on these, if I'm doing the math right, the offensive numbers for the transformers are not added to your damage. So, food for thought there. Actually, they might be. I don't think they are. I don't know. But anyways, I switched out, since they were my front line originally, I had the defensive one on there. And as you can see, let me zoom in. I got bad eyes. I can read this a lot better. How's that? Is that better for everybody? I hope so. Look, the defenses go absolutely nuts. 96%. That's not counting this down here. These turrets, when I had them set up like this, they would take a pounding. They couldn't. A lot of ships couldn't kill them. But the thing was, they're just driving by them. I couldn't spit out enough damage to really, kill the ships. So just take a look. 10,400. You switch it to offensive. I've almost doubled it. I've increased it by 75%. My defenses went way down, but not really, because when you figure you add these on, it's going to be around 70%. I'm still, almost in the top quarter. I'm in the top third. I'm knocking out, 2/3 of whatever they're sending in. So these things still last without that defensive thing there. I got enough other defensive things on there. Here's the other thing. If you're saying you have problems with keeping fleets out, your base sucks, all that kind of crap, take a look at this. Level 7 turret with nothing on it. It is bare bones. We're just looking at the turret. 2,080K. That's a lot. From level 6 to level 7, there's a huge jump in this number. I don't have a level 6 turret. The only one I do have in my base right now is being upgraded, so I can't look at it to get the actual armor point number, but I know it's a huge jump. Level 6 turret doesn't have all these defenses built into it. This is just from being a level 7 turret. So not only do they give you a whole bunch of armament points, but they give you a blanket defense, 30% on the big 4. Level 7 turrets are key. If you want to have a strong base, pick a turret. I actually started out doing the level 7s on my frontline turrets. Thinking, okay, here's my defensive stoppers, that kind of thing. So I started doing my the ones up front. And I was still in that mindset about the whole keep your balance in your base, so you get bubbled and all that. And like I said, I took that and I threw out the window. I'm not looking for a bubble anymore. I'm just looking to kill your ships. I'm not thinking defensive. I'm not thinking about getting a bubble and I get to be shielded and defended. I'm invulnerable for however long the bubble lasts. Screw that. I'm offensive. I'm going to send you home packing if I can. You're not going to be able to bubble my base. All right. Take a real quick look at the. The only thing is it does more damage. The ranges and everything is the same for the Draconian Scattergun. So 6 Basilisk turrets set up like this will still do a hell of a punch. When they come in line and they all fire off at once, like I'm doing, it's well over 100K for all 6 of my turrets to fire off. If you have 6 Basilisk, you're still probably doing 80, 90K. That's still pow. It's gonna just disintegrate ships. Okay, going down the line. Next platform is the Wendigo. It's a launcher, radioactive. there's really not a special slot that's really beneficial for it that I've seen. Plus, without it, it fits on a level 5 turret. And I was doing originally I was doing the turrets where you take them all up, try to keep them even. You know, level 4, level 4, level 4, level 4, level 4. And take level 5, level 5, level 5, level 5. I think that's a mistake now. The way they are running with deflection and that kind of stuff, you kind of have to have level 7 turrets where you can put all that and get the power up so high. And you're doing such a big punch, you're driving over all their resistances and like penetrating resistance and their deflection. You're going over and above that, so you're still damaging them ships. So I can't say enough about pick a turret, drive it up to level 7. You know, it takes a long time to do it, but let me tell you, you will be happy with the results. I guarantee it. And if you're not, talk to me, and we'll figure out a way to set up your turret where I know you will love it. I mean, level 7 is key. It gives you so many more options. But okay. Remember this, the Wendigo turret, the overload reload mechanism just barely touched the corner. Counts. It's there. I get that bonus. The other thing to look at on this one is it is a Wendigo turret with nothing on it. There's nothing boosting it. There's nothing. I want to take it to level 7 so I can put the turret on, the transformer on it. It'll happen in time. But right now it's just basically a turret, weapon turret. No other thing. But I'm still boosting it. Radioactive reload, 12.5. Radioactive defense. That's coming from my oil rigs. So I'm actually getting some of the defenses from that. Damage, radioactive damage increased 15%. So I'm boosting it. It's just a plain turret, but it still has the boost. Step 1 over. Alright, this is the glacial launcher. Again, it's just by itself. It's a launcher, radioactive. There's not really a special that I know that'll boost it. So it's just the blank weapon on the turret. And it's boosted because of the other buildings. The other things can power this up. Overload reload mechanism. If you have this on your outpost and you have a glacial launcher, I cannot recommend enough to make sure that glacial launcher is inside that aura for the overload reload mechanism on your outpost. Think about this. It gives you a free shot of 200% salvo. The salvo for this is 20. So that's 40 icebergs that you're throwing out onto your canal. This turns into a skating rink. It's a whiteout. You can't see where the land ends. The walls kind of poke through the snow drifts. You know, Penguin Paradise and Penguintopia, so to speak. If it lasted longer, I'd have hockey games out here. All right. Next turret. Cold Snap. I put the Eruption Pyre. Once again, I'm dealing with the power. You know, it just fits on a level 5. You can't put other stuff on it. If you use Eruption Pyre, I highly recommend you take it to R15 ASAP. And the reason is, if you look at the bonuses this gives you. Explosive damage, minus 0%. Well, when it's not retrofitted at all, it's like minus 15% or something like that. So if you take it all the way to R15, you get no negatives for using it. It's all positive. The projectile speed, explosive reload, and the splash all go up, and the explosive damage penalty actually goes away. So highly recommend R15. Once again, I'm getting powered up as I'm getting closer to the back of my base. You can see the powers are going up. 40% to the damage. Where's the reload? Explosive reload, 25% reload. It's all good. If you look at this 25% reload, that is not figured into this 161 reload. These are coming from outside the turret. These are turret totals This is coming from an external source, so you got to add that onto that. So that turns into 180%, 186% reload to the cold snap. Let's take a real good look at what that actually means for this cold snap. It has a reload time of 9 seconds. Well, I'm increasing the reload by over 200%, by almost 200%, which means it's going to drop it down to about every 3 seconds it's going to fire. The debuff time for its effect, the cold snap's effect, is 5 seconds. Well, if I'm firing in less than 5 seconds, like just over 3 seconds, I'm putting a new debuff before the old debuff wears off. And basically what that means is once this thing starts firing, like way out here, all through here, I'm shutting down their auras, their defensive auras. Their Aegises don't give their defensive bonuses. I'm stripping away their defenses. Doesn't work on all things. Some ships are coming out now that are cold snap immune, which I think is bullshit. I could see like a 50% debuff to the cold snap or something, but totally immune, I think that's crap. But there you go. This is a defensive turret. Doesn't really play into the offensive stuff. I'm actually thinking about getting rid of these. When they first came out, the countermeasures were awesome. Then they nerfed them. Now these things are crap. I had 4. I've already gotten rid of 1. I'm probably going to get rid of... Thinking about changing this to a ballistic, like a javelin, to pound this canal a little bit more. I don't have anything that's really doing ballistic damage. I got everything else covered. No ballistic damage. So that's why I'm thinking about changing that. For my APOC mortars, again, Eruption Pyre. It's at R15. I don't get any bonuses. Any penalties for using it anymore. So I'm increasing the splash, the reload, the projectile speed. It's all good in the neighborhood. And as you can see, it's getting, but my numbers are increasing a little bit more. Explosive reloads is up to 37 on this one. Explosive damage is up to 55. You know, it's pow. I'm shooting out as a faster rate. I'm doing more damage. It's under the overload, so every 60 seconds this thing will spit out 8 instead of just... Actually, it's 200% reload. Yeah, so it spits out 8 instead of just 4. So, again, it doesn't look real big on paper, but that overload reload mechanism is very powerful. All right, let's look at my big gun. Here's my biggest big gun. Level 7. I don't have any armament on it. Let's face it, if they are shooting at this turret in the back of my base, I've lost. Don't need to waste the points. Oh, while I'm talking about points, real quick. This number right here, when you look at your turrets, this is how much power you are allotted for your base. The first number is how many points you're actually using. If you're saying your base is weak and this number is not close to this number, you need to start powering things up more. You need to start grabbing some base parts, slapping crap onto your turrets, onto your buildings. Use up all this power. Before the OP went up to, what is it, level 7 now or 8? Whatever the last one, I had this number maxed out. I was having to pull off things so I could put other things on because I was out of power. And I'm closing in quick. You know, getting some turrets to level 7 and loading them up is really taking a bite at it, but I'm closing in. All right. So we have the Deadeye. Deadeye Executioner. There is an argument in the community which is actually better, the Deadeye Executioner or the regular Executioner. And the reason they're arguing about it is the salvos. Deadeye Executioner has 3 salvos. The regular Executioner only has 2 salvos. When you calculate all the damage the turret's going to do, you have to divide it by that number. For the Deadeye, it's divided by 3. For the regular, it's divided by 2. The Deadeye does do a little more base damage than the regular Executioner, But once you actually do all the math, and let me tell you, it gets complicated after a while. But you have to divide by the number of salvo, and that's the number that every shot will that hits the ship does to it. That's the number that they're going to use to, okay, I have 50% missile defense. So they cut that number in half. Then the deflection gets applied. If that number is no longer higher than their deflection number, you do no damage. Technically, that's not right. You will do a minimum damage. Kixeye says there is a minimum damage, but they won't tell you what it is. It's a token little, if I take a missile and I slam it off a boat, it might not blow the boat up, but it will dent it. There will be a minimum amount of damage. And they won't tell us what it might be, like 10 points. It might be 100 points, 50 points. It might be 5% of total turret damage. It might be a percentage like that. We don't know. They won't tell us. So there you go. The specials I got in it, I got thermobaric casing 3. Sorry, I always have problems with that word. Because more damage. Pile on the damage. I got it at R15. Boosted all the way up to 41%. That's huge. Smart warheads. I love smart warheads. I am a big advocate of smart warheads for the mere fact that it targets the lowest health ship. The ship with the least amount of armor is what it's going to hit. Well, with a range of, this boosts the range 25%, 199 range, so add 50, 250 just to keep the math easy. 250 range. As soon as you come into my base, I'm going to be hitting you with this thing. Alright? Let me zoom out just for a sec. Look at this range. That's just freaking, that's reaching out and touching somebody. So as soon as you come in, I'm hitting you with these 4 executioners. Go back in here. Since I'm targeting the lowest health ship, when you first come in, I'm probably not hitting your tank. Or their tank. Sorry, don't mean you. You're an ally. You're watching this video. You got to be an ally. I'm hitting their I'm not hitting their tank. I'm hitting either like their Aegis, their like a defensive field ship, that kind of thing, or I'm hitting their support ships. I'm hitting one of the support ships and not the tank. So I'm hitting that Rhino, or I'm hitting that Citadel. Vendettas. I think it's the Vendettas. They have such a huge penetrating deflection. I really don't do that much. These things don't hardly dent them. So there you go. But I love the smart warheads. The other thing is, it pounds on one ship. Pound, pound, pound. I'm going to take one ship. I don't care if they try to rotate a damaged ship to the back of the rank. I'm still pounding that one ship they're trying to protect. I'm going to kill that ship, and then I'm going to move on to another one with these. That's what I love about it. If I take out, let's say they have, a tank and 4 rhinos. If I take out one rhino, I'm basically taking a quarter of their punch away. So, there you go. Okay, AT Transformer. I have the offensive one, 35% bonus. Let's stack these bonuses up. Get it way up there. All right, so if you think about it this way, 35%. So say a third of the damage from, so I get 51% from these. Takes it up to 15 plus a third of that. It's going to take it up, we'll round it off, easy math, 20K. All right? So this thing is doing 20K just from the turret. But if you come down here and look, penetrating damage, 120%. So this 15 gets turned into 20, which gets turned into 44K. That's a punch. That's a big Texas haymaker right there. So again, I'm stacking up defense. It has where's the penetrating reload? 75%. So not only am I throwing a huge bomb out there, but I'm shooting them out there faster. It's actually to the point where at the longest range, I'll have 2 volleys of missiles in the air before the first shot hits. I'm spitting them out that fast, which is really nice. Again, as much damage as fast as possible. What else is I going to look at? All right, let's look real quick. My guard fleet. I told you about I took away... I'm trying to get down to not needing any sort of guard in my base whatsoever. The big Achilles heel in my base right here is Tigers with scatterguns. That's why this Ghost is here. The main reason I'm using my Ghost is, 1, they can't rocket it, and 2, it has a good thermal range. The thermal range is 88, so it's the same as the torpedo range. If I can get both of these to pop up at once, there we go. Tigers come down this canal, la-di-da-di-da, blah, 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 blah. All right, from right here, they're going to get seen. Everything in the back of my base is going to fire. They know they've been spotted. You know, it's going to be just choomp. Everything is just going to explode off my back of my base. You know, big plume of death and destruction coming towards them. So they basically have the time it takes from here to here. Here's the scattergun range. So they basically have that much time to go, oh shit, out of surprise, and reach up here and click the retreat button, which I haven't seen anybody quick enough to do it yet. They come in, boom, 100K of damage that will do sub damage to this whole area. Poof. Bye-bye subs. I wish I had a gold coin for every one of the fleets of Tigers that I've killed. 2-3 times a day I'm killing a Tiger fleet because they come into this base, they look at it, and say, okay, how do I beat this base? They're not going to see the Ghost Crawler here. They're going to look at a base that has no defensive fleet whatsoever, and they're going to like, oh, it's Christmas. They come in with their Tigers, with their scatterguns, thinking they're going to take out all the, take out this wall, and then come in with another fleet. This is a trap. It's a trap, as the guy said in Star Wars. It's a trap. I'm lulling them into a false sense of security. It looks like they have an easy base they can pick apart. They hit this right here, and I wake them up to reality. Little kung fu flipper bitch slap right in the face. So, yeah. I think the Ghost Crawler, because it never surfaces, it can't be rocketed. It can do a lot of damage. It has a great thermal. Ghost Crawler has got to be one of the best ships you can put in a base guard. It's extremely hard to get a hold of, but in my book, by far, best guard defense. I'm actually thinking about building 4 Banshees to go with it in my guard fleet, and I'll put one in each corner of my base and let them run patrol, just to screw with people. Okay, so there you go. Once again, Retrofit Lab. Most people are going to jump on weapons, advancements, you know, all this kind of stuff. Hulls, maybe. Face it, they're more fun. You're going to see the power increase. You're going to be able to take out more targets. They're a lot more fun to build up. But you got to do turrets, too. Think about it. You've got people hitting your base with stuff at R15. Your base needs R15 stuff, too. Same thing goes for your base guard. They're coming in with Skull fleets. You need to have Skull fleets to face them. So if your base guard is not skulled out, next VXP weekend, go skull it out. You need to be firing back as fast as you can. But as you can see, I got the main turrets. I picked the main weapons that I use, and I took them to R15. Deadeye Executioner. I'm doing 23% more damage with it. Max it out. I want as big as punch as I can get. Radioactive launchers. So my Wendigo, my fire rate is increased. I'm spitting out as fast as I can. Get as many volleys going. Same thing with the mortars. It's a fire rate bonus. I want to fire and throw out as much damage as I can. The coaxial, I went with the countermeasure side of it because the coaxial, the ballistic part is not really all that great. A lot of things can outrange it. So it's kind of like, they just snipe it from away. I'm using it for the countermeasure aspect of it and increase the range of the countermeasures. As you can see, I didn't do the ballistic part of it is still at 0 rank. Speaking of countermeasures, let me go over one thing real quick. Let me take one of my little turrets here for a little demonstration. I know not all countermeasures have this kind of range. I'm just moving it way out here for the demonstration aspect of it. Hope I don't get hit. Okay, countermeasure range. As you can see, this turret is being defended. It's inside the countermeasure range of this turret. I know most countermeasure ranges don't range out this far. I'm just using this as an example. This is not going to be very effective. If a ship comes in, let's say la-di-da-di-da, so I'm going to attack you. They come flying in here. They target this with missiles. Missiles come flying in. This is not going to launch until it breaks. A missile breaks that, green line. It won't launch. There's no way the countermeasures are going to travel all the way out here and shoot missiles down in this little bitty green area right here. So what you want to do with your countermeasures is you want to have that green as far forward. Get on there. I can't find the damn hole it was in. There it is. You want that green to be as far out in front of the whatever turret you're trying to defend with it. As far out in front, it gives you that chance, or maybe you'll get that second volley of anti crap to shoot and knock down whatever they're firing in at you. But you don't want it to be where they can target that first. So again, they're kind of tricky on where you need to put them, how you need to use them. I don't think it's a bad idea if you have a wall of like my wall of scatter guns here. If you have a front line wall, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put a row of walls behind it, or maybe even 2 rows of walls, and then put your countermeasures right behind that. So they'd actually have to go through your front line, what you're trying to defend, to get to your countermeasures. Meanwhile, your countermeasures are protecting each other. It's a symbiotic relationship, so to speak. So yeah, try to get that green as far out as possible. Okay, so I did the countermeasures. I pretty much took a look at all the turrets. Talked about my base guard, the EMPs. I think I covered anything. Let's take a look. I got hit last night, and the guy actually did damage to my front line. And I think it's a really good example that will kind of show you what I've been talking about, how these things still have staying power. They have the offensive transformers on them, but they still have a huge staying power. So let me we'll go ahead and watch this shot, and I'll probably close up the show after this. This will just kind of be a demonstration, show you about what I'm talking about in actual, when it's actually being done. Junkyard Dogs, I just slapped it on there because I got the blueprint. It was the silver one. It's like for 3 days. Not that my Ghost Crawler ever really hits anything. It will fire shots, but usually my scatter guns Well, let me kill the sound. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, if you look, my executioners have they've picked out. He's trying to shield his revenge behind his what you call it. It ain't working. It's already taken damage. It's got the lowest amount of armor. I'm just pounding that one boat with my missiles. Screw whatever trick he wants to try to do. I'm locked in. I'm just going to keep pounding on that one ship. This guy over here is like what I was talking about. These EMPs aren't going to do anything. Just not going to, he's going to take him out and you'll see his ship will stop for just like a second. Not much. But you see, you know, the what you call it didn't work. He's got to go in there with the, boom. It stopped for just like a split second. Not even. Boom. Stop for a second. Meanwhile, not really worried about that boat. I'm locked on one. I'm going to make sure he loses a ship. Boom. Little pause there for just a split second. The missiles that are hitting this are coming from this turret, which doesn't have the smart warheads on it yet because it's a level 5. But these three are just pounding, 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 pounding relentlessly on that one boat. Okay, see, look, it's almost dead. He brings these down to this side, so his remote mortar range will hit these. All right, here he comes with his big run. You can see he's already hurt. Before he even entered my thing, he's already hurt. He's outrunning a lot of stuff. This is a pretty fast boat. You see, he's out in front. He gets stunned when this thing blows up. Boom! There's the first blast of the scatter guns. It just disintegrates. So he gets a volley, 3 volleys off. Bam! A lot of damage. I lose I think it's a level 5 turret there, or level 4. But these are still very, very, very healthy. He's already lost his other boat back here. So this thing is now tracking a new one. And he just says, screw it. I'm not gonna try to get to there. This ice pack will stop these dead in their track. Just stops them dead. Let's take a look at his second attack. Okay, my base is now beat up. My turrets have been hit. My EMPs are gone. He can't do any sort of power up to his bloodthirst anymore. Let's see how he does on this one. I'll get rid of this thing right here. Counting down. But yeah, take a close look. My ghost did fire, but I don't think the torpedoes got there by the time these things killed that ship. Then he went out, he coined his fleet, and he came right back in and said, I'll show you, smartass. I'm a coiner, I can't be defeated. Which I think is a little hilarious. But again, I'm just picking. These are a lot closer in range. I'm like, screw it. I'm hitting this one ship. I'm taking chunks out of it. He drives them out of range. And if you'll notice on these Vendettas, the missiles don't do anything. They have such a high missile deflection. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm wasting shots. But they also have a high armor. So even though these are going to be closer in range than this boat when it comes into range, these three are automatically going to track over to this. There you go. He's in range. They're like, okay, I actually did dent that boat quite a bit. So here we go. We have this one coming in. Charge! Starts taking damage. I'm just spitting stuff out. Again, these are fast. These are outrunning a lot of stuff. But watch what happens when these things fire. Pow! I mean, there went 3/4 of his points. Just pow! He gets a couple more volleys off. Looks like 3 more volleys. I still have over half. This is his second attack. He's already lost 2 revenges. 3 revenges. He's bringing in a third. And all of a sudden, see, I'm tracking that again. These are in range. He's coming in. He was at full health coming in here before. He's looking at it now. Oh, crap. Screw this. I'm going to another base that's easier. Again, a perfect example. You don't have to kill a guy's fleet. You just have to do so much damage that he'll move on to an easier target. Because coiners don't like spending money. So there you go. There's a little video of my base in action and what I've been talking about and my strategy and how it's working in real time. Well, it's a video, not real time, but you know what I'm talking about. There again, I'm not real good with words. So I think that's gonna pretty much be it. Zero, is there anything you want to add? I have to say my co-host was not a big help on my show today. I don't know if I'll have him back, but I probably will. Anyways, so thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I hope it wasn't too boring for you. Like I said, I can't say enough about getting turrets to level 7. You will be extremely happy with the results. So I guess that's it. I'm going to sign off. This is Ninja Penguin and my co-host Zero. Thanking you for watching, and as always, I thank you for your time and attention. And until next time, keep your stick.